Welcome to the deep dive. Before we jump in, if you are listening to this audio overview on YouTube, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. So, you know that incredibly satisfying, heavy mechanical click when you punch a 4-digit code into a vacation rental door?
Oh yeah, best feeling.
Right. The deadbolt slides into place, you drop your bags, and you just exhale. You feel entirely secure.
Yeah, Phil.
It's this very specific kind of modern comfort, this idea that we can just buy a temporary fortress for the weekend.
It totally functions as the ultimate psychological threshold. I mean, you cross into your temporary castle, and as far as your brain is concerned, the unpredictable, chaotic, real world is now, well, it's officially locked out.
Exactly.
You feel safe simply because the app told you the booking was confirmed.
But then you start to think about the actual mechanics of that lock.
Yeah.
And the systems behind it.
Which is terrifying.
It is. Suddenly, that comforting click feels profoundly hollow. We are looking at a landscape of temporary spaces that are uniquely vulnerable. Today, our mission is to explore that exact vulnerability. We are doing a full audio overview of 3 terrifying, allegedly true California vacation stories.
And we're pulling these from excerpts of a transcript by the YouTube channel Mr Night Mer from a video titled 3 Scary True California Horror Stories.
Yes. And let me tell you, these accounts will completely dismantle how you view the gig economy of hospitality. Throughout this deep dive, we're going to discuss the events, analyze the behavior, provide some theories, verify if we think these are real or fake, and give our personal opinions.
Because these stories reveal the invisible risks of the platforms we trust. When you rent an Airbnb or stay in a guest house, you are stepping into a space with a history you don't know.
Right.
Controlled by people you've never met. You're relying on this frictionless digital interface that creates a completely false sense of vetted security.
We all love taking trips, we want to escape our daily lives, and we deliberately prioritize relaxation over vigilance. So, I want you to think about the last time you locked the door of a vacation rental.
Did you really know who else had that keypad code?
Exactly. Did you know who might have been watching you arrive? Okay, let's unpack this with our first story, which takes place in an environment designed for the ultimate evasion of reality: Coachella.
Oh, wow. Festivals are fascinating case studies in vulnerability.
They really are.
I mean, they are temporary cities built entirely on the premise of sensory overload. You have massive crowds, deafening noise, unpredictable lighting, and a cultural expectation to just drop your inhibitions.
Yeah, it's an environment that actively discourages situational awareness. So our protagonist is a 26-year-old woman attending her first Coachella with her friend Alyssa.
Okay.
They rent this little 2-bedroom Airbnb, fly out to California, and step into what she describes as a fairy tale world. And for the first 2 days, they are living the dream.
Huge crowds, weird outfits, music everywhere.
Right, people acting like they have 0 real-world responsibilities. But by the 3rd day, the physical toll of a desert festival hits them. They are completely exhausted. So to push through, they decide to take Molly in the late afternoon.
Which introduces a critical biological variable.
Oh, for sure.
MDMA doesn't just make you feel energetic. It fundamentally alters your brain chemistry by flooding it with serotonin and oxytocin.
It makes you love everyone.
Right. It artificially induces empathy and trust, but more importantly, it suppresses activity in the amygdala, which is the brain's primary threat detection center.
Wow.
Yeah, so her biological alarm system was essentially taken offline, making her the perfect target for a predator to exploit.
That is so creepy because at first the high feels amazing. But after an hour, things take a very dark turn. She keeps noticing the same person in this chaotic crowd of thousands.
Lots of thousands of people.
Yes, it's a guy, maybe 35, dark hair, scruffy, wearing a black shirt and boots. And she notes that his outfit is completely out of place for a hot, colorful desert festival.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
And he isn't dancing. He's just standing there, like 20 feet away, staring directly at her.
What's fascinating here is the stalker's predatory tactics. I mean, he is actively using the sheer volume of the crowd as camouflage.
Just blending in.
Exactly. In a sea of thousands of moving bodies, noticing the same stationary person 4 or 5 times isn't a coincidence. It is a calculated pattern of pursuit.
My theory is he knew she was impaired.
I agree. He is testing her awareness, waiting to see if she registers him as a threat while her defenses are chemically lowered.
Well, her friend Alyssa just brushes it off. She blames the Molly, telling the protagonist she's just hyper-focusing on random people.
Which is such a common reaction.
Right, and that reaction makes the protagonist second-guess her own instincts. But then the drug's effect begins to curdle, the high turns into this restless, overstimulated nightmare, her jaw is tense, her heart is racing, and then the stalker makes his move.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he pushes right up to her in the packed crowd, tries to dance, leans in, and starts flirting. And he immediately asks if she's there with anyone.
A textbook isolation tactic. He's probing for vulnerabilities, trying to ascertain if she has a protector nearby or if he has managed to separate her from the herd.
Well, she politely says she's with her friend, and she turns to pull Alyssa closer, but realizes Alyssa has completely vanished into the crowd.
Oh, that's terrifying.
She panics. And the guy instantly registers her distress, and he eagerly offers to help her find her friend.
Help, right.
She describes his tone as so intensely eager that her suppressed instincts suddenly scream at her not to trust him. She physically shoves her way out of the crowd, just terrified. And she says her vision starts getting squiggly, like the lights, the people, the ground, everything is shaking and vibrating.
Her nervous system's redlining. I mean, her physiological response to the drug is peaking at the exact moment her psychological stress hits a maximum.
So the squiggly vision is real.
Yes, it's a classic symptom of an acute panic attack stacking on top of a powerful stimulant. She is entirely compromised, both mentally and physically.
Well, she calls Alyssa like 10 times because the cell service in the desert is practically non-existent. Finally, the call connects, Alyssa finds her, and they abandon the festival early.
Thank goodness.
They get back to their rental, completely drained. The protagonist is so physically shattered, she just crawls into bed in the dark, still half high, vibrating with residual anxiety, but totally exhausted. And this brings us to the climax.
Okay.
She wakes up in a half-sleep state. She looks toward her open bedroom doorway, and there's a tall figure standing completely still in the dark.
Wait, inside the house?
He isn't just in the house, he is just inside the room, facing her.
Oh my God.
She focuses on the face, and even in the pitch black, she recognizes the silhouette. It is the man in the black shirt and boots from the festival. He is standing a few feet from her bed.
No way.
She feels this horrible cold rush, throws the covers over her head, and starts screaming at the top of her lungs until Alyssa runs down the hall and flips on the light.
But the doorway is empty.
Exactly. Alyssa blames the drugs again. She insists it's just a lingering bad high, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion and paranoia.
Which makes sense in the moment.
And the protagonist actually wants to believe her, because the alternative that the man from the festival somehow found out where they lived and walked right into her bedroom is unthinkable.
Right, you'd rather believe you're crazy.
Exactly. They sleep in the same bed with the hallway lights blazing.
Yeah.
But the next morning, they find the chilling proof. Alyssa wakes her up, screaming her name. Alyssa is standing near the bedroom doorway staring at the floor, and there, pressed onto the hardwood, are muddy boot prints.
It is the physical evidence that completely shatters their psychological safety net.
They track the prints, they start near the front of the house, come down the hall, stop exactly at the doorway where the figure is standing, pivot, and then walk right back out the front door.
That is horrifying.
It reminds me of the terrifying moment when a magic trick is revealed to be reality. You spend the whole performance convincing yourself it's an illusion, a trick of the mind, smoke and mirrors, and then the magician drops a real heavy, muddy boot right on the stage. It is the ultimate gaslighting of your own brain suddenly becoming hard, physical evidence.
That analogy perfectly captures this shift from psychological dread to physical danger.
And for verifying if this is real or fake, honestly, the muddy prints make it undeniably real to me. A hallucination doesn't leave mud.
Oh, I totally verify this as real. My theory is he used the sensory overload of the festival and her altered state to test her boundaries. Then he followed them. He likely watched them call a ride, track their vehicle, and escalated to a physical home invasion, knowing they were disoriented.
Just to watch her.
Notice that he didn't steal anything. He just stood in the dark and watched her sleep. The intrusion was entirely about power, terror, and the violation of her most vulnerable space. Personally, my opinion is I would never sleep with the bedroom door open again.
Same. It permanently traumatized her. She mentioned she still obsessively checks bedroom doorways before doing anything else.
I don't blame her.
Hey guys, just a quick reminder, if you are enjoying this audio overview, please take a second to like and subscribe. So the festival stalker exploited a public space and an altered mind. But what happens when you remove the massive crowds and the drugs?
That's a good question.
Does wealth and exclusivity actually buy you a stronger perimeter? Or does it just attract a more dedicated voyeur? Let's look at the San Diego beach house.
We are shifting from public chaos to private wealth. But the vulnerability remains, it just changes shape.
Our protagonist here is a college guy visiting his girlfriend, Valentina. Her family owns this beautiful multi-level villa right on the beach.
Sounds nice.
It is. He's staying in a lower-level guest room. It has its own view of the beach, but it's physically separated from the main living areas upstairs where Valentina and her family are sleeping. He specifically notes that from his window, he can see the exterior side stairs that lead up to the front door on the second floor.
That architectural detail is crucial.
Why is that?
Because beach houses are often designed for aesthetics over security. They feature lots of glass, multiple access points, and staggered layouts that create isolated pockets within the same property. The protagonist is in the house, but he is fundamentally alone down there.
That makes total sense. So the first evening, Valentina wants to take sunset Instagram photos on the crowded beach. He plays the good boyfriend and takes probably 100 pictures of her posing in the sand. But when he sits down to review them later, he spots something deeply unsettling.
Who is it?
There is a man lingering in the background of every single picture. Sometimes he's staring at Valentina's back, sometimes he's staring directly into the camera lens, right at the protagonist.
This is a profound evolution of stalking mechanics compared to our first story. It begins as a digital intrusion.
Yeah.
Before the stalker ever makes a physical move, he embeds himself in their digital memories. We also have to consider how easily stalkers use social media to track real-time locations.
Oh, the Instagram photos.
Exactly. Public Instagram posts act as a geotag beacon, broadcasting exactly where you are and how distracted you are.
Well, the protagonist looks up from the phone, but the guy on the beach is gone. He tries to point it out to Valentina, but she shrugs it off as just some random weirdo.
Typical.
He admits he feels intensely paranoid, but tries to, be a man and suppress his fear so he doesn't ruin the vacation vibe. Later that night, around midnight, they're having a beach bonfire. The protagonist steps away to take a phone call from his boss, and out of the darkness, he sees a black figure standing near the waterline, just staring at him.
Wow.
The protagonist literally pauses mid-sentence so abruptly that his boss asks if he's okay.
The stalker is actively escalating his presence. He's no longer just a background anomaly in a photograph. He is asserting himself as an active observer, letting the protagonist know that the surveillance is intentional.
The real escalation happens the next day. The protagonist wakes up feeling sick and decides to stay in bed all day. Valentina and her family leave for downtown San Diego around 7:00 p.m.
So he's completely alone.
He is completely alone in that lower-level room. He falls asleep and slips into a dream about someone tapping rapidly on a glass table. The tapping becomes so rhythmic and annoying that it pulls him out of his sleep.
Oh.
He turns to face the window, looking out toward those exterior stairs, and sees the guy from the beach pictures. He's wearing a black hood, standing right at the glass, waving at him.
A horrifying subversion of a friendly gesture. The way is a taunt. It's a predator, letting the prey know the hunt has officially begun.
The guy immediately sprints up the exterior stairs. Seconds later, the protagonist hears the heavy front door open on the second floor.
Which should be impossible because the family locked the front door when they left for downtown.
Right, and hold on, I actually want to question the narrative focus here. His immediate thought is, how did he get in the house? But the true terror is the realization that the stalker already had access to the upper level of the house before this attack even began. He bypassed the main security of a wealthy family's villa effortlessly. The protagonist leaps out of bed, runs to his own bedroom door, and throws his weight against it just as he hears the intruder on the other side.
Wow.
The stalker is aggressively jerking the handle, throwing his shoulder into the wood, trying to force his way into the guest room.
The hollow core of a bedroom door is the only physical barrier left between him and the predator. The illusion of the secure perimeter has completely collapsed.
He calls 911 while bracing the door. 5 minutes later, the police arrive with sirens blaring and the intruder flees. But when Valentina's family gets back, the horrific twist of the story is revealed. Valentina screams from her upstairs bedroom.
What did he do?
The creep had stolen her clothes and bathing suits, and the police find a hidden camera deliberately planted in the corner of her room.
Oh my God. This discovery completely reframes the entire sequence of events, and it changes our understanding of the stalker's motives.
Wait, let me push back here. It makes you ask, who was the primary target here? Was the protagonist targeted because he noticed the guy staring on the beach? Because they locked eyes at the midnight bonfire? Or was it always Valentina? The stalker was staring at both of them in the photos.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it represents a terrifying evolution of the stalker's methodology. It moves from public observation, being a blurred figure on a public beach, to a violent physical home invasion, and finally to the ultimate psychological violation.
The hidden camera.
Yes, placing a digital eye inside the most private space imaginable. The stalker didn't just want to terrorize them in the physical moment he wanted to capture them. He took physical trophies with the stolen clothes, and he set up a system to continuously violate their privacy, long after he walked out the front door.
In terms of verifying if this is real or fake, the hidden camera detail makes me lean towards real. That is a very specific modern crime.
I agree. It's totally verified real to me. My personal opinion. I would sweep every vacation rental for cameras from now on.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder how long he had access to that house. Days, weeks. Was he the one who rented it before them?
It's very possible.
Which is the perfect pivot to our final story. We've gone from coastal wealth and digital intrusion to total, absolute desert isolation and the gig economy's ultimate blind spot.
Palm Springs, an environment where the primary appeal is the emptiness itself.
Yeah.
You are paying for seclusion.
A couple seeks a quiet getaway in a highly rated, modern, one-story Airbnb. It's located 15 minutes outside the city, right where the suburban streets end and the raw desert takes over. It has massive glass doors facing the backyard, sleek concrete floors, a pool, and a small storage shed out back.
Okay.
The listing heavily sold the concept of it being very private, and crucially, the hosts never even met them. The entire transaction was handled via an app, and they just received a keypad code.
The abstraction of the landlord is a defining feature of modern travel. The platform creates a frictionless interface that feels professional, but in reality, you're placing your physical safety in the hands of a totally unvetted, invisible entity. You are trusting an algorithm to keep you safe.
So, night one, the protagonist hears a distinct, heavy thump against the side of the house at 2 a.m. He rationalizes it, dismissing it as the house settling or the desert wind.
Of course.
Night two. They are laying by the pool and they hear a distant voice calling out. They literally laugh it off, joking that there's nothing around them but sand and scattered houses miles away. They brush off random ticks, thumps, and impacts against the walls.
This is a textbook example of the normalization of deviance.
What does that mean?
Human psychology is wired to preserve our baseline feeling of safety. When confronted with terrifying anomalies like unexplained thumps in the middle of nowhere, our brains invent logical explanations, like wind or thermal expansion. We desperately write off the warning signs because acknowledging them means admitting we are in danger.
But night three is where the rationalizations run out. It's midnight. The protagonist is awake in bed, scrolling on his phone in the dark. He notices a harsh light shining through the flats of the blinds. He peeks out and sees a motion sensor light on in the backyard. It stays on for a minute, then shuts off. 10 seconds later, another motion light triggers further down the side of the house.
Sequential triggering. That isn't a coyote or a stray dog triggering a single floodlight. That implies intentional, directional movement along the perimeter of the property.
It's someone walking a deliberate path. His girlfriend is terrified. She is begging him to shut the blinds completely, grabbing his arm, pleading with him to just stay inside and lock the bedroom door.
Smart woman.
But he feels this overwhelming need to verify the threat. He sneaks into the kitchen, grabs a large butcher knife from the block, and slowly slides open the back glass door. He steps outside into the dead quiet of the desert night.
Oh, terrible idea. He is leaving the illuminated structural safety of the house and willfully stepping into the predator's environment.
He stands out there for 5 minutes, gripping the knife, seeing nothing. He starts to think his girlfriend was right, that maybe it was just an animal. But then he looks down at the sand near the patio. Clear, fresh shoe prints.
Oh.
Not paw prints. Deep treads from a heavy shoe, leading straight from the side of the yard, directly to the closed double doors of that small storage shed by the pool.
The space they assumed was entirely benign, just holding pool chemicals and floating chairs.
He follows the prints slowly. He gets to the shed, and the footprints simply end right in front of the closed wooden doors. He stands there, maybe 3 or 4 feet away, just staring at the grain of the wood, trying to hear breathing. For 5 agonizing seconds, there is absolute dead silence in the desert.
I would be terrified.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because from inside that pitch-black shed, a man's voice speaks. In a completely normal, calm, polite tone, the voice says, "Excuse me, could you open the door, please?" followed by a quiet, breathy little laugh.
The psychological warfare embedded in that single polite sentence is staggering.
It truly is. It reminds me of the anglerfish. You know, that deep-sea predator that just dangles a glowing, attractive lure in the pitch black, fully expecting its victim to willingly swim right into its open mouth with zero resistance.
That is a perfect comparison.
That's what this interaction feels like. The sheer audacity of the intruder to politely ask the man holding a knife to open the door to his own doom.
It demonstrates a terrifying level of control and comfort. The intruder isn't panicked that he's been discovered. He isn't scrambling to escape. He is amused by the situation.
Well, the protagonist doesn't fall for the lure. He sprints back to the house, slams the glass door, locks it, and immediately calls 911. While they're on the phone with the dispatcher, the outside lights start triggering again.
He's circling.
The unseen figure is now circling the house, but their blinds are completely shut, so they are just sitting in the dark, tracking his movements by the floodlights clicking on and off. It takes the police 20 agonizing minutes to arrive because of how isolated the property is.
The double-edged sword of a private getaway. Seclusion means you don't have to deal with nosy neighbors, but it also guarantees a severely delayed rescue when things go wrong.
Yeah.
You are entirely on your own.
The police finally arrive with spotlights and check the shed. It's empty. The intruder slipped away into the desert.
Of course.
But inside the shed, the cops find empty water bottles and food wrappers. An officer explains that drifters and predators sometimes hide out in vacant rental properties in isolated areas, tracking the booking schedules. But the true horror, the final gut-wrenching twist, happens back inside the Airbnb.
Inside.
An officer is sweeping the interior and asks the couple if they own a dirty, sweat-stained baseball hat that he found pushed behind the living room couch.
Inside the locked perimeter of the house?
Inside the house. They don't own it. The hat was definitely not there when they checked in. The intruder hadn't just been living in the shed. He had been inside the house with them, maybe while they were watching TV, maybe while they were sleeping. He had a way in.
This represents the total collapse of the boundary between the safe interior and the dangerous exterior. The threat wasn't a random passerby trying to break in. It was someone who had already breached the perimeter long before they arrived. He was essentially cohabitating with them in the shadows.
They pack their bags and leave immediately. The protagonist messages the Airbnb host repeatedly, explaining the shed, the police presence, the break-in, the compromised locks. Every message shows up as read on the app, and the host goes completely silent. They ignore all of it. They don't respond a single time.
Which highlights the ultimate failure of the system we buy into. The platform's customer service, the superhost badge, the keypad algorithms, none of it actually protects you when the physical property itself is fundamentally compromised. The gig economy is designed to collect your money, not to guarantee your physical safety.
Verifying if this one is real or fake, the host ghosting them makes it so painfully real to me.
My theory is the host either knew there was a security flaw and didn't want liability, or they were somehow involved. Personally, I would have sued the platform.
Oh, 100%. So what does this all mean for you? Look at the thread connecting these three nightmares. From a drug-fueled music festival, to a wealthy family's beach house, to a secluded desert rental governed by an app. The common denominator is the profound illusion of safety we purchase when we rent a temporary space. We commodify comfort.
We pay for the aesthetic of security without any of the actual structural integrity.
When we go on vacation, we deliberately let our guard down. We trust keypads with 4-digit codes that have probably been emailed to 100 different strangers before us. We trust digital locks controlled by anonymous absentee hosts who will actively ignore us the second a threat materializes.
Exactly.
We prioritize our relaxation over our vigilance, assuming that because we paid for a service, we are insulated from the real world. But predators rely on that exact relaxation. They exploit the fact that you don't know the normal baseline of the environment you're in.
This raises an important question for anyone who travels. If someone else holds the master key, possesses the history of the keypad codes, and has intimate knowledge of the property's blind spots, are the walls of a vacation rental really keeping the outside world out? Or are you just temporarily sharing space with the unknown ghosts and sometimes the very real monsters of the people who were there before you?
A terrifying thought to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive audio overview. If you enjoyed the theories, the analysis, and the stories today, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. We'll see you next time.